Every time I decide to watch a new TV drama, I feel like I'm watching the Titanic set sail. Like, I start the show going okay, but I know it's just a matter of time before the showrunners drive that shit into an iceberg. Very recently, against my better judgment, I decided to watch the show Suits. And if you don't know what that is, I want you to close your eyes and picture a bunch of assholes going around stealing money from pregnant women and bankrupting corporations, because that's what the show's about. It's a bunch of lawyers, right? And I was really into it. It was really good the first couple seasons. It had an engaging cast of characters. And then season 3 set in, and they're basically recycling this episodic structure. The plot lines have gotten way blown out of proportion. It's super overdramatic. All the characters are just annoying. And I'm left with this predicament where, there are 7 seasons of the show, or 9, or however many fucking seasons of this show there are. And it's like, I'm invested. Do I keep watching even though it's shit and just go through it? I eventually dropped the show, but it left me wondering, why does every TV drama run itself into the ground? If we want to answer this question, we really have to understand how the US studios work and how a new show really gets made. How it happens, basically, a bunch of writers, they'll come up with ideas called pitches, which are basically just a premise for a show, maybe a couple characters, kind of what happens, whatever. And they'll give these to the studio. And I'm saying pitches with a P, not bitches. I'm not fucking talking about Harvey Weinstein shit. I'm talking about scripts. So they give these to the studio, right? And the studio will sort of sort through them. They'll be like, okay, we like these pitches. We don't like these pitches. And they kick it back to the writers where they say, okay, we like these ideas. Now give us a script. And this is key here, guys. This is key. Even at this point, a lot of scripts get rejected. So these writers, they aren't really thinking super meticulously about, the distant future of the show, because they got to get season 1, season 2 made. And the show people, the studio, they're not going to pay for 6, 7 seasons of this show because they don't know what the fuck seasons 1 or 2 are going to do. So what you end up with is an incentive to make seasons 1 and 2 really meticulously planned out in terms of the script without any really regard for the distant future of the show. And it's really frustrating because it leads to a lot of shows that get 2, 3 seasons in, really well written, and then the writers realize, oh shit, we don't know where the fuck we're going with this. And so what you end up with is a bunch of shows, a bunch of projects that have really solid starts. They have a lot of potential, but they have very little plan. A lot like me in my life right now, right? I have no fucking clue what I'm doing with my life, if you can't tell from me making this video. Because of this season by season approach that studios take, writing and thinking in general around these shows becomes very short-sighted. Writers tend to write to the short-term needs of the script rather than thinking about the long-term consequences. A perfect example of this is The Flash, right? I don't know if you've watched The Flash, but how it works, basically there's Barry Allen, he's the fastest man alive, ooga booga, he's running, right? And every season, the villain is like a little bit faster than Barry, right? So he has to, come up with some plot to run a little bit faster than this other guy and just barely by the nick of time, beat him, right? Next season comes around, they have an even faster guy. Ooh, he's even bigger and badder. And you get this cycle where they keep introducing a faster villain and Barry defeats him. And then the next season, the writers have to come in and be like, oh, here's this even worse guy. And it just gets really old. On top of that, you run into inconsistencies with the characters like that of The Office. If you've ever seen The Office, you know Steve Carell, absolute badass, one of the funniest people you'll ever watch. He just fucking leaves after season 7, right? But he's kind of the main character, and he's the reason most people are watching The Office. So when he leaves, The Office never really recovers. In addition to the seasonal constraint I just talked about, most US TV shows have another constraint I would call the episode constraint. And what I mean by this is most studios confine themselves to this 45-minute episode, which happens to be just the right amount of time, they can take this generic structure and apply it so they don't even have to think when they write. And let me show you what I mean by this, right? Take The Flash, right? You could take an episode from season 2, middle of the season of The Flash, watch it, and it would make perfect sense. Because every episode of The Flash is the same, right? It starts out, The Flash, he's running around the city, he runs into some villain who, eventually, like, at first beats The Flash. The Flash, he goes around the rest of the episode kind of beefing up, he gets his skills together, and then he goes back and he beats the villain, right? At the very end. Like, that's every single episode of The Flash. Just like, hero meets villain, villain beats hero, hero gets stronger, hero beats villain, right? That's every single episode of The Flash. You don't even have to think. It's kind of like the writers are just filling out a Mad Lib sheet. Take another example, Suits. Every single episode of Suits is built around the case. So some up-and-coming lawyer from Oklahoma or Texas comes up and has to try to beat Harvey Specter, and I'm going to stop doing this accent, I don't know what the fuck it is. But they try to beat Harvey Specter, and he has to come up with a case and build a case and beat this up-and-coming lawyer. There's no originality to it. Contrast it with a lot of like the BBC up-and-coming Netflix shows that go for like a 90-minute, hour-long episode. That extra bit of time allows them to do so much more with the structure of the episode. Now, it is my opinion that it is not rocket science to fix these issues. Studios have just got to stop putting arbitrary limits on things and stop thinking so short-term when it comes to series. Now, to some degree, there's a benefit to just writing short-term because, you get a following, you get some investment in a show, and people are going to keep watching it even if it does go to shit. So it's not like it really matters anyways. But look at a studio like Netflix. Netflix does have an interest because people are paying for their subscription service. They got to make their shows good. So what they've started doing, they'll write to fit the episode. Look at Queen's Gambit, right? Queen's Gambit had a plan. It was based off of a novel. The episodes range from 45 minutes to 75 minutes sometimes. They really let the episodes dictate themselves. Again, look at The Witcher. Loosely based off novels, it has a plan, it has a story, it's pretty well received. And they adjust the episode lengths. They write seasons in advance, like they're already working on, I think, several seasons out. I can't fucking remember what season they're even on now, but I know they're like working on the next couple of seasons even as, episodes come out for the previous season. Really on the ball, in my opinion. I don't know, it doesn't seem like it's that hard. Now, I hate to do this in the last couple minutes of the video, but I am going to weave out here. I'm going to talk about anime. Basically, anime does a really good job of avoiding both of these issues by writing to a plan almost every time and then adopting the 20-minute episode length to where they can't really have a defined structure. So how anime works, just about every anime is based off of a manga, which is a Japanese comic book. So it has a plan, usually like there are several seasons of story before they even film one season of the anime. And every episode of anime is 20 minutes long, so they can't just write to this formula. Basically, anime is done with sort of this arc by arc approach where every arc is usually, anywhere from 5 to 20 episodes. So every episode, it doesn't like start and stop. There's not like a predefined self-contained story with each episode. It's kind of like every episode goes together to complete an arc. So, it's like you might be watching an episode and it ends like in the middle of a fight and the next episode just starts right in the middle of the fight. There's no like rising or falling action per episode. It's all done kind of according to this arc. I don't know. I just think it's better, and I'm a weeaboo. I watch a fuck ton of anime, so I thought I'd throw that out there. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like anime, I make a lot of anime videos. Please consider, liking and subscribing. If you like my cute face and you want to see more of me ranting about stupid shit. Yeah, I don't know. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.